Good morning, everybody. Bonjour tout le monde. I am very happy today to be with you online. This is a big day for us, for the Friends of Victoire organization. We are broadcasting today coast to coast from Europe, Canada, USA, and Africa because we are committed to someone who's very special for us, Victoire Ingabire. And before I go on, I would like to, first of all, tell you that we have four speakers today that's going to be helping us understand more about Victoire Ingabire, who's in prison in Rwanda. So they're going to help us to understand exactly what type of person she is, and what we can do to help that justice be done for her. First of all, going further, I'd like to present to you the chair of our organization, Marie-Lyse Numuhoza, who's going to start our conversation for today. Marie-Lyse Numuhoza is the chair of Friends of Victoire Ingabire, and she has been a human rights activist for the past 8 years, and has worked with the London Citizens and Independent Asylum Commission and STAR, the Student Action for Refugees, the national network of students groups working to improve the rights of refugees in the UK. She is also involved to improve the rights of refugees in the UK. She is involved in the Voice of African Women campaign, advancing African women's rights, and also working on the promotion of the United Nations Security Council Resolution 1325 on women, peace, and security. Mrs. Numuhoza is also the founder of Women Peacekeepers for Great Lakes region of Africa, a London-based women group with aims of fostering acknowledgement of the tragedies for the people of Rwanda, healing, and then moving towards sustainable peace and reconciliation. She also has been a member of a UK WILPF, Women's International League for Peace and Freedom, for the last 6 years, and she's currently working for a social policy think tank on youth transition in London. Please welcome Liz Numuhoza. Thank you. Liz.
Yes, thank you, Freddy. Can everyone hear me all right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I think you've done a thorough introduction for me, so there is nothing much I'm going to talk about myself, but I'll talk more about Friends of Victoire, the new movement that we just started here in London. But we hope for the movement to grow to a global level. So far, it has been successful because we've got members at the moment in Canada, USA, Belgium, France, and Holland, and we hope also to get more people joining throughout the year. But for us at Friends of Victoire, and for all the people who loves Victoire Ingabire and who have followed her courageous actions to go back to Rwanda, 2015 is a special year for us. She's been in that country for 5 years. She went to challenge the autocratic regime of President Kagame. She has been put in prison, but the legacy that she's left behind is what we who are joined and those who will join Friends of Victoire will be focusing on. The legacy of a courageous woman who have decided to leave everything she had, and she stood up. That's what women into leadership represent. We shouldn't be tagging along with autocratic regime. We should be standing for the people and or portraying or advancing peace and challenging anything to do with impunity. So that's what Friends of Victoire has started up for. We call for all Rwandans, Friends of Rwanda, or peace-loving individuals across the world to come and join the campaign to campaign towards the freedom of Ingabire, but as well as other prisoners of conscience. She's not the only one being unjustly imprisoned in Rwanda. There are journalists, there is other human rights activists who are all being put in prison. I think she stands and represents all the people who are unjustly imprisoned, all the Rwandans who are muzzled by the autocratic regime of Paul Kagame. So we hope that everyone who's listening today will join the movement, the Friends of Victoire movement, to challenge the impunity and injustice going on in Rwanda and even across the Great Lakes region through the courageous of a unique woman, Madam Victoire Ingabire. So thank you, Freddy, and over to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Lise, for your presentation. Et maintenant, en fait, comme nous avons un public, en fait, qui parle beaucoup de langues, le français et l'anglais, j'ai l'honneur de vous présenter aussi une personne qui contribue beaucoup à ce que la voix de Victoire soit entendue dans le monde entier. Je vous présente Madame Perpétue Muramutse. Elle est membre fondatrice du réseau international des femmes pour la démocratie et la paix, et elle est coordinatrice du réseau ici au Canada. Et elle va nous parler, entre autres, à propos de Victoire Ingabire, et aussi nous dire, parce que nous savons très bien, et tout le monde qui suit les nouvelles à propos de Victoire Ingabire sait très bien que cette organisation-là, ce réseau-là, a créé un prix en son nom. Elle va nous dire pourquoi ils ont pris cette décision-là, et aussi nous en parler plus. Et je voudrais quand même passer plus loin parce que nous avons une audience de partout. Il y a des gens qui ne connaissent pas déjà Victoire Ingabire, et j'aimerais, et cette question-là, je la pose à tous nos panélistes aujourd'hui. À une personne qui ne connaît pas Victoire Ingabire, comment pouvez-vous, par exemple, lui expliquer quel genre de personne qu'elle est et quelle contribution que cette personne-là peut apporter pour que la justice soit faite pour elle? Merci. Le micro est à vous, Madame Perpétue.
Merci, Freddy. Et merci aussi, surtout à vous tous qui avez pris l'initiative d'organiser cet événement, et aussi à l'organisation Friends of Victoire qui a pensé à mettre ce mouvement en place pour en fait continuer à faire vivre Victoire malgré qu'il y a donc le régime du Rwanda qui, lui, ne souhaiterait certainement pas la voir vivre. Et alors, c'est à nous qu'appartient la responsabilité de la faire vivre, puisque sa cause, c'est la nôtre. Et donc, je remercie d'abord à ceux qui ont organisé et à ceux qui pensent à continuer vraiment ce mouvement, parce que ça rejoint aussi notre initiative. Voilà, alors, effectivement, comme on vient de le dire, et puis je remercie Lise aussi, Numuhoza, Madame Numuhoza, qui a vraiment parlé de Victoire aussi, qui a déjà donné une petite aperçu sur elle. Et moi, je vais souligner sur le fait que Freddy vient de parler, le fait que nous avons créé un prix Victoire Ingabire Umuhoza pour la démocratie et la paix. Alors qu'en fait, justement, nous, en tant qu'un réseau international des femmes pour la démocratie et la paix, qui a été inspiré d'ailleurs par les actions de Victoire Ingabire, et donc pour la création de ce réseau, parce que ce réseau a été créé vraiment pour soutenir son initiative, pour soutenir son leadership qu'on voyait. Et c'est à partir de son leadership, en fait, que nous avons pensé à créer un mouvement, un réseau de femmes pour la soutenir dans son action. Alors, pourquoi avons-nous créé un prix à son nom? C'est qu'à un moment donné, quand on a vu que le régime de Kigali l'a mise en prison, malgré que sa démarche était pacifique, malgré que sa démarche était vraiment démocratique, nous nous sommes dit, mais qu'est-ce que nous pouvons faire d'autre? Qu'est-ce que nous pouvons faire pour reconnaître son courage? Parce que, donc, on peut dire que les points qui ont marqué vraiment son courage de façon extraordinaire, d'abord, c'est qu'elle s'était engagée tout au départ avec les partis politiques qui l'ont porté qui l'ont choisi comme candidate pour les représenter au Rwanda. Et c'est qu'elle a accepté de quitter son domicile, de quitter sa famille et d'accepter de représenter les intérêts du peuple rwandais et d'aller défier le régime dictatorial qui est en place au Rwanda et d'espérer d'avoir une petite place dans le jeu politique donc, au Rwanda. Donc, de ce fait-là, simplement de ce fait, qui est déjà un grand fait, d'oser aller sur place, c'est que Madame Victoire Ingabire Umuhoza a démontré qu'elle est capable de dépasser les intérêts familiaux, qu'elle est capable de dépasser ses intérêts personnels, parce que c'était une femme qui avait un bel emploi, qui était en Hollande, qui était en sécurité, et elle a été capable donc de dépasser ce noyau familial et d'accepter de faire le sacrifice carrément de sa vie, parce qu'elle était très très consciente que les dangers étaient nombreux. Elle a donc accepté d'aller sur place et de représenter le peuple rwandais pour trouver une place et de démontrer une autre possibilité de gouvernance. Donc elle voulait démontrer qu'il y avait moyen de gouverner autrement et de partager l'espace public. Alors, en faisant cela, en fait, c'est la première personne qui a dévoilé ce qu'était réellement le président Kagame. Parce que jusque-là, le président Kagame était l'homme providentiel et le démocrate dont on parlait dans le monde entier. Mais la victoire, sa présence, la présence de Madame Ingabire a démontré que plutôt ce président Kagame n'était pas capable de partager le moindre espace politique. Et là, c'est vraiment un grand travail qu'elle a fait de ce fait-là, parce qu'elle a démasqué. Et depuis, justement, on ne cesse de démasquer ce régime et de démontrer combien il n'est pas capable de partager l'espace politique. Voilà peut-être s'il y a une traduction. Est-ce qu'il y a une traduction à faire? Ou je continue?
Vous pouvez continuer et puis à la fin, on va... Bien un peu.
Voilà. Alors, ce fait-là déjà en soi est énorme. Et nous sommes donc posé la question de savoir comment pourrions-nous reconnaître ce courage-là. Comment pourrions-nous reconnaître le courage de Madame Victoire Ingabire, puisque nous ne sommes pas armés, nous ne pouvons pas, donc nous faisons un combat démocratique, nous faisons un combat pacifique, et nous nous sommes dit la seule chose que nous pouvons faire, c'est de ne pas l'oublier. En fait, ne pas l'oublier et toujours continuer à véhiculer les valeurs qu'elle a véhiculées, continuer à véhiculer son combat, puisqu'elle aujourd'hui, elle est en prison et ne peut plus parler. Alors nous sommes les voix nous essayons d'être des voix de victoire pour que sa voix continue à résonner dans le monde. Et en créant alors un prix à son nom, et ce prix, comme vous le savez, ou ceux qui ne le savent pas, il est attribué à tous ceux qui se battent de façon significative justement pour la démocratie et la paix, surtout dans la région des Grands Lacs africains. Alors de ce fait, nous voulons que le combat de victoire continue et que en fait on ne puisse pas l'oublier et que tous ensemble nous continuons au moins ne puisse qu'à consacrer une journée de temps à autre à nous rassembler ensemble autour de la cérémonie de remise de prix de Victoire Ingabire Umuhoza pour la démocratie et la paix. Et j'en profite pour vous dire que cette année, ce prix sera donné à Bruxelles le 28 février. Habituellement, ça coïncide à la Journée internationale de la femme, Mais cette année, pour des raisons pratiques, donc ça sera donné le dernier week-end de février. Et voilà.
Ok, merci beaucoup, Madame Perpétue Moramotse. Merci beaucoup de votre entretien. En fait, un peu de mots. I will try to translate a little bit some very principal points in what she told us about Victoire Ingabire. First of all, she said that the reason why they have decided to fight for justice with Victoire Ingabire, it's because as a mom, as a woman, she has decided to leave the country where she was living peacefully, leave her job, leave her family, and go to Rwanda because she felt that it was time to go and fight for the people of Rwanda. And secondly, the reason why they did so is because when she got into Rwanda, the government of Rwanda shown that they could not give her any place at all where she can speak out for the injustice that Rwandan people are living. And at that moment, she showed to the whole world what type of person President Kagame was. Somebody who don't want to share any political space or give any room for freedom of speech. And also, looking forward to that, they have decided that in a way of recognition of her involvement in everybody else knowing what type of struggle people Rwandans go through, was time to create that prize. And that prize is not only given to the people of the Rwandan community, but it's given to everybody in the world, the people, everybody who shows that they fight for democracy and freedom of the people. And for this year, he just finished telling us that this year, the next prize will be given in Belgium on the 28th of February, which is the last weekend of the month of February. Thank you very much. And our next person on the panel, her name is Anneke Verbraeken. Anneke, she is a Dutch independent researcher, journalist specialized in the Great Lakes region. She writes for Dutch and Belgian newspapers, and lately she's doing research on Dutch Rwandans being accused of genocide on flimsy evidence. She's working also on a documentary about the most important and dangerous road in East DRC. So DRC stands for Democratic Republic of Congo, and she's writing a book on a Congolese human rights activist and Victoire Ingabire Umuhoza. Welcome, Anneke.
Thank you. I'm glad to participate in this discussion because I think it is really important. People from all around the world, from all colors, from all races, are occupied with a peace progress. I think right now what the world really needs is peace. And so I'm very happy that some young dynamic people from Rwanda took this initiative because yes, Rwanda needs peace. Lately I've been doing a lot of research and what I found out is that also the Netherlands is not as democratic as it seems to be as in connection with Rwanda. We are, how do I say, we are cooperating with Rwanda in a way that is illegal, I think. We do things we shouldn't do, and I'm looking into it, and I hope within 1 or 2 months I can really show something in the way the Dutch government is handling things towards Rwanda in the cases of people who are accused of genocide here in the Netherlands. And as for Victoire, I know her since 2008. When I first met her, I was not really impressed. It was a small woman, and she talked very rapidly French. I couldn't understand half of what she was saying, but I was really intrigued, and I said to myself, my God, this woman, she wants so much. And who is she? And where does she stand for? So it took me about 3-4 months to gather some information, because as an independent research journalist, you don't say, hi, I believe you, and I believe whatever you say, and be my guest. So I first did some research on in 3 months, and I saw there was not so much published about her. Not many people knew Victoire at that moment. And I said to myself, well, let me follow this lady for some months, and some months became years, and I'm still following her.
Okay, so thank you. But Anneke, I have another question. If we go further, for example, you know, you have known her for a long time, and you are telling us about the way your government is dealing with the government of Rwanda in a way that you yourself you don't see is a good way to deal with the government that doesn't really, you know, protect the people, doesn't protect democracy or justice. So, as I said before, I asked the question, you know, what can you call the other people, like other Dutch population? What can they do? If they, how can you reach them and tell them what they can help us do to everybody else to understand what's going on here?
Yeah, the problem is Rwanda is far, far away from the Netherlands. So not many people are really interested in what's happening in Rwanda or what's happening with the Rwandese population in the Netherlands. But what we're trying to do with the lawyers, Jan Hofdijk, for example, he is really full of energy with his clients. He's got a lot of clients who are accused of genocide. He's working his ass off to get them rehabilitated. And what we hope, what is very difficult, is to commit some politicians to the case, that our Parliament can convince our Secretary of State and our Minister of Foreign Affairs that there is really something rotten in the state of Denmark. And the Netherlands should not treat people who are accused of genocide like this, because what happens is it's an administrative procedure. Our immigration service says, hey, we accuse you of genocide. They have no evidence at all, but as a consequence, the people who are accused of genocide lose their money, lose their jobs, lose their permits, and they are de facto illegal after this accusation. And the Netherlands is really doing something wrong here, and it's not only the Netherlands. I just talked to Human Rights Watch yesterday, Anneke Verbraeken, and she said what the Netherlands is doing now is happening in some other countries. The countries are using their legal system to evict people to Rwanda, or trying to evict people to Rwanda. And the problem is that a few years ago, the European Court said, well, hey, Rwanda is a good country you can send people back to because the justice system is okay and the prisons are okay. We all know the justice system is not independent from government. We all know the prisons are not okay. But our government and other governments and our judges and other judges in other countries won't listen to that. They only see the decision of the European Court and they say, okay, we can evict people, we can send people back to Rwanda. And I think we really should try to convince politicians of a lot of countries of Europe that there is you can't send people back to a country where there is no independent justice.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much, Anneke. Pour ceux qui ne comprennent pas l'anglais, en fait, je vais essayer de faire un petit résumé en français. Donc, Anneke, à l'introduction, nous a parlé de Victoire Ingabire, qu'elle l'a connue en 2008. Et puis que dès qu'elle l'a vue comme étant journaliste recherchiste, D'habitude, dans le travail de ces gens-là, ils posent des questions, ils écoutent ce que leur interlocuteur leur dit, et puis ils ne vont pas plus loin. Mais elle est allée plus loin pour s'intéresser à la personne elle-même. Elle a trouvé que Victoire Ingabire était une personne quand même qui avait vraiment un grand cœur et qui aimait son pays. Et puis c'est quand elle a compris aussi sa détermination d'aller se battre pour son pays, pour que son peuple eusse une justice équitable, c'est là qu'elle a commencé de suivre de près tout son travail, et jusqu'à présent elle fait de même. Et puis elle nous dit que en fait aussi pour ce qui concerne son travail de défendre les personnes accusées d'une façon injuste de génocide qui vivent dans son pays, que actuellement le grand problème qu'il y a, c'est que les politiciens de son pays font ce qu'ils veulent. Donc, ils utilisent la justice de leur pays pour juste accuser des gens sans qu'ils eussent de preuves, quoi que ce soit. Et puis, quand je lui demandais, en fait, ce qu'elle peut faire aussi pour intéresser à la population de son pays dans l'ensemble, à la cause rwandaise, à la cause de Victoire Ingabire, sa réponse était assez claire. Ce qu'elle a dit, c'est que, en fait, la population d'autres pays, comme son pays, ne connaissent pas exactement ce qui se passe dans nos pays. Donc, les premières personnes à intéresser, les premières personnes à convaincre à faire quelque chose, ce sont les politiciens. Encore une fois, merci beaucoup, Anneke. En fait, on aura aussi, on est encore ensemble, on aura probablement des gens qui vont vouloir te poser d'autres questions. And the next speaker we have today, his name is Claude Gatebuke. Claude Gatebuke is from Rwanda. He's a Rwandan genocide survivor and has dedicated his life to advocating for human rights. He is the executive director and co-founder of the Nashville, Tennessee-based African Great Lakes Action Network, an organization focused on justice, peace, and prosperity in the Great Lakes region of Africa. Additionally, Claude Gatebuke is a member of the African Great Lakes Advocacy Coalition, which unites more than a dozen advocacy organizations with the common vision for a peaceful Great Lakes region of Africa found throughout the USA. Mr. Gatebuke advocacy was focused on genocide prevention. He has lobbied on Capitol Hill and in Nashville, and is a regular presenter in colleges, universities, churches, community organizations, and conferences across the U.S. Mr. Gatebuke, welcome, and now it's your time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, and thank you for holding this historical event, because I think it's important to have a global campaign around the case of Victoire, which represents a lot of the injustice that is taking place in Rwanda, and also in the Great Lakes region and in other places. She is like yesterday's Mandela struggle, freedom in South Africa, like the Aung San Suu Kyi of Burma, like the Bertukan Medeksa of Ethiopia, and many others. And she shares in common the fact, with Aung San Suu Kyi and Bertukan Medeksa of Ethiopia, the fact that they're all women. And I think, just looking at her, she's a very courageous person. For years, the Rwandan government was an impenetrable wall. It was a wall that could not be broken down because they spend so much money invested in PR. And there is this reputation of, one, it's a very stable and secure country, and it's a fast-growing economy. And in addition, it has the highest number of women in parliament of any country in the world. The big irony is what Victoire did. She basically single-handedly, one woman, went back to Rwanda and exposed the myth that is being perpetrated by the government of Rwanda. and she has single-handedly, as a person, brought about most of the change that we see today in terms of how the Rwandan government is seen, exposing the dictatorship that's taking place, and even the foreign policies supporting this government. So this one woman that has single-handedly contributed so much to the change that is needed in the country is an inspiration, I think, to many women around the world, but many people, men too, because she's shown more courage than most men that I know or that I've come across. She's definitely, by standing up, she's shown that the intolerance that there is in Rwanda, in simple disagreement with the government. If you look at a government that touts itself as we have the highest number of women in parliament, and turns around and the only woman that actually had a chance to challenge, that could legitimately challenge the government, was put in prison, it totally exposes the system as it's built. The other thing is that the RPF came down crumbling once Victoire went down. She went down, she was assaulted, she was abused, she's falsely imprisoned today. Her rights have been taken away, she's been taken away from her family, and the actions of the Rwandan government towards Victoire have shown the world what a government that government is. So just for the simple fact that she went and challenged them, they turn around and expose themselves with the actions that they've taken against her. And I think that should inspire people around the world to see, number one, what amount of courage she has, and what just little support towards her to go, and how far along it will go. And so I think that this movement has a lot of potential to build global support. Just like I have seen with Burma, and as I have seen with the Ethiopian activist, Gatebuke Medexa, and being part of a coalition that involves so many organizations that have worked historically on African issues. I've had the privilege of working with people who were engaged in the pre-Mandela movement. And today, they are aware of what is happening with Victoire Ingabire. And the experience of what they did, at least here in the U.S., can be leveraged for us who are in the U.S. and maybe others around the world to build a real movement to support her and to get her freedom, to get her to go back and see her family, for her to see her children again, and not only that, but for Rwanda to be a country, a free country, where we can actually hold free and fair elections, where she will have the right to run. At a minimum, what we can do from where we are, being that we are based in foreign countries, we can push the governments of the countries that we live in, which is what our organization focuses on, the African Great Lakes Action Network. We focus on foreign policy, U.S. foreign policy. And I think we can all focus these energies in these countries where we are and bring them together to build a global movement that is going to not only bring about more supporters, but really bring about the changes at a minimum in the countries that we're in. And so to me, I think that Victoire is a very big inspiration to many generations to come. And I've seen it even here in the U.S. People who are not very familiar with her, as soon as they hear about her and read a little bit about her, watch her videos, they're inspired. So I think this is a great initiative.
Thank you, Claude. Thank you very much for your intervention. And actually, before I even try to translate what you just told us, your last words are very powerful. You know, Victoire Ingabire is an inspiration, and you can see it. But you are from a Rwandan background, So I am thinking, because we are broadcasting from coast to coast, there are some Rwandans that don't understand English that probably are following us. In just few words, what can tell you them in Kinyarwanda, for example, if you may?
Murakoze cyane. Icyo nashaka nari mvuze kuri Ingabire mu magambo makeya ni uko ni umuntu w'intwari, kandi abantu benshi batanamuzi. Iyo babonye iyo basomye ibyo yakoze, bakareba za video z'ibintu yagiye avuga, amagambo yagiye avuga, bibatera courage yo kumva ko nabo bashobora kugira icyo bakora cyangwa bafasha n'abatari abanyarwanda, kuko abenshi n'ubundi twebwe tubonana muri organisation yacu ni abatari abanyarwanda, ku buryo bigaragara ko iki gikorwa gitangiye gishobora guhuza abantu benshi baturuka mu duce twinshi cyane tw'isi, kandi bikaba byafasha Victoire Ingabire kuba yasohoka mu nyururu akabona famiye ye, ikindi akaba yahabwa uburenganzira bwe kugira ngo ashobore gukora politike nk'uko abyemerewe, yagombye kuba byemerewe mu gihugu cy'amategeko mu Rwanda. Ikindi ni uko twebwe aho turi, niyo mu Rwanda bitahinduka, ni uko aho turi dushobora guhindura uko ibihugu dutuyemo bikorana n'u Rwanda, ko bishobora cyane cyane ko hari ibihugu bitanga imfashanyo nkatwe tuba muri Amerika n'ababa mu bihugu by'i Burayi, ku buryo bishobora gutuma guverinoma y'u Rwanda nayo ireba ikavuga iti gukomeza kumufunga biraduhombya, na bya bindi twitwazaga by'uko ari igihugu gifite amajyambere n'iki nabyo bishobora guhagarara. Ikindi ni uko abantu benshi bagiye babona ibyabaye nko kuri Aung San Suu Kyi wo muri Burma, babona ibiba kuri Bertukan Mideksa muri Ethiopia, hari abazi ibyabaye kuri Mandela n'abandi n'izindi ntwari nyinshi zagiye zibaho, ku buryo urebye abagiye bashyigikira Mandela n'abashyigikiye Aung San Suu Kyi n'abashyigikiye Bertukan Mideksa ni abantu nabo bumva bagombye gushyigikira Ingabire, ku buryo iki gikorwa gitangiye gishobora kugira abantu benshi bagikurikira kandi batangaho imfashanyo zabo uko babishoboye, kandi kikagera ku bintu bikomeye cyane, kigafasha u Rwanda n'ibihugu bituranye n'u Rwanda.
Urakoze cyane. Thank you very much. So in just few words, I will try in French to summarize what Claude just told us. En fait, un peu de mots, ce que Claude nous dit, c'est que Victoire Ingabire devrait être pour tout le monde comme elle l'est pour lui, une inspiration, parce que ce qu'elle a fait jusqu'à présent pour que le Rwanda soit connu dans le monde, surtout en fait dans un sens où le gouvernement opprime le peuple, a été grand. Donc c'est grâce à elle, à sa force et à sa décision de retourner au Rwanda que actuellement tout le monde regarde d'un autre œil ce qui se fait au Rwanda. Et il nous fait aussi remarquer en fait que malgré ce qui s'écrit dans les médias internationaux et ailleurs, que le Rwanda n'est vraiment pas un modèle, que c'est un pays là où il y a l'injustice, que c'est un pays là où en fait quand on le suit, le développement économique tant mis dans les médias comme étant une réussite au Rwanda, mais que réellement les chiffres ne concordent pas la réalité sur place. Donc, un peu de mots, c'est ça. Et puis, donc, elle dit que dans le monde entier, il y a beaucoup de gens qui ont soutenu dans d'autres pays, des gens comme Aung San Suu Kyi, qui, dans leur pays, par exemple, de Birma, ceux qui l'ont soutenu, bien sûr, seraient prêts aussi à aider notre cause. Et puis, donc, il finit en disant que donc, cette organisation que nous créons, ce mouvement qui a été commencé par Victoire Ingabire, pourrait aller de l'avant. Et nous devrions en fait essayer beaucoup plus de changer les gens dans les pays où nous vivons, aux États-Unis, au Canada, en Europe et ailleurs. Et puis par après, en fait, ce changement des mentalités, surtout que ces gens-là, ce sont eux qui payent les taxes, ils vont donner des aides dans notre pays, le Rwanda, devra aussi aider à ce que les choses soient changées dans le pays. Thank you again. And now I'm back to Liz. I'm back to Liz. Excuse me?
hari icyo nagira ngo nongeraho mu kinyarwanda.
Okay.
Ntari navuze nuko kuva Ingabire yasubira mu Rwanda, FPR n'u Rwanda byarahindutse. Ntabwo hakimeze nka mbere, hari hameze nk'umutamenwa, umuntu adashobora kwavuga cyangwa ngo yerekane ibihabera. Ibyo bamukoreye byatumye iriya guverinoma y'u Rwanda igaragara nk'uko iteye, ko ari guverinoma ihungabanya uburenganzira bw'abantu kandi itemera ibitekerezo by'abantu batavuga rumwe nayo.
Okay, thank you very much. Now I am gonna get back to Liz. Liz, you are the chair of Friends of Victoire, and you know, this is a movement that Victoire Ingabire started, and as she said, the movement, she said that whether she lives or die, this movement is bigger than herself, than her. And right now, as we are broadcasting and discussing about Victoire Ingabire and what we can do to, you know, to help that justice be done for her, and actually help people to understand also the injustice that reigns in Rwanda. There are so many people around the world that are following us, that listening to what we are saying, what we are discussing right now. I'd like you to, as a chair of Friends of Victoire, to tell them something. Tell them exactly what would you think they should do to help. What do you think? Because not everybody can take a microphone and speak. Not everybody can write. Not everybody can go, let's say, when there's a strike on the street and, you know, and show exactly what the feeling they have. But we live in a world where here in the West, there is freedom of speech. People can probably do something else. What can you tell them, please? Your microphone is off. The microphone.
Yes, hi. I think I wouldn't say it's very simple, but every little action matters. You know, she took the forefront, and before she left, she knew what she was going to expect. And I would say that we who are in the Western world or other countries which have got freedom of speech and democracy, we can say and reach as many people as we can. Everyone can contribute. Everyone can contribute what they in their local community where they are. I can give examples. Some people who have like mothers and toddler groups. Some people who have community centers where they are. It's the how you are inspired and how you want to portray the image of Madam Victoire Ingabire. And as Claude said, we here in democratic countries, we have leaders in these countries where we are who listens to their people. The local people you talk to, the local people you mobilize, then those are the ones who are going to create that chain of reaction to reach to those decision makers who are going to also join, who are going to advocate for the release of Ingabire, but as well as for the end of injustice in Rwanda as a principle. One other thing I wanted to mention that Claude said as well that led us to establish this movement as a global movement is because across the world in different countries where Rwandans are, there is different groups, association, organizations that campaign for unity and reconciliation and for injustice and impunity in Rwanda or in the Great Lake region in particular. However, we realize that we are all working single-handedly to influence the decision makers of the countries where we are. But I think our voices will be stronger if we all go together in the US, in the Canada, in the Netherlands, in the Belgium, and we all globally spoke the same language. We all actually, we still speak the same language, but I think the more we are, the better influence we're going to have. And I think we have to move away from only campaigning within our own countries and start to reach the bigger bodies, the bigger institutions that make global decisions. Institutions like the UN, institutions like the EU, institutions like the AU. And this is not something that only people in the UK or in the Canada could do on their own, but this is something that we can achieve at a global level within our own institution, within our own organization, lobbying the politicians of our own countries, but as well as trickling upwards to the bigger institutions that make decisions and have the power to enforce security in the world.
Thank you very much.
So that's what I could say.
Okay, thank you on that note. And actually, before I let you go, I also wanted you to tell us about something, because in the pamphlet, our pamphlet, we sent out for for this event, we have put a word that says the Mandela then, Victoire today. Mm-hmm. What that word means to you, please.
It means a lot to me. Mandela has been, and is actually, he still is, the African icon for struggle for democracy. However, I would say that he had his time, but now we also have Madam Victoire Ingabire, who has demonstrated courage and determination in challenging autocratic regime. So even though Mandela is not still with us today, but I believe that the legacy that he introduced at his time when he was fighting the apartheid in South Africa, I think those are the foundations that also drove Madam Victoire Ingabire to take the decision to go to Rwanda and to challenge the autocratic regime of Kagame. And it was Mandela at that time, but the whole approach of people standing up for their freedom, people standing up for democracy, it doesn't end with one individual. It's a trend that we all who stand for peace, or who wants to democracy and to end injustice for the people, should carry on. So Mandela was at that time when he was fighting for apartheid. I think today we have Madame Victoire Ingabire, and they're all African icons for peace and democracy. And I hope, and I don't doubt, that even in the many years to come, whether Victoire Ingabire is to go as well as Mandela has left us, there will be other young people who put their footsteps who put their feet in the footsteps of those two unique individuals for our lovely continent of Africa.
Thank you very much, Marie-Lyse. And now I'm going to turn to Anneke. Anneke, we have been talking about, commitment to Victoire Ingabire Umuhoza, but, we have spoke about different issues. Everybody spoke about who she is and, and how to interest people to be interested in her involvement and stuff like that. But right now, I want to talk about, from her admiration, how can we go to active solidarity with her? Okay, as you know her very well, what do you think she's expecting from us? Does she just expecting it from us to, admire and sympathize with her? Or do you think people that or everybody else, they can also pitch in another way? Thank you.
Yeah, I don't think Victoire is someone who wants to be solely admired. She is a woman who is very energetic. It's a very brave woman, and I know that she would love that people get together and try to change things. And I think she's really pleased with this initiative. I think this is what she means. we're talking here about young people taking the initiative to do something about a situation they find that must change. They do it with a lot of zeal, and they do it with women, men, everybody. So I think that's very important, and I'm sure she really applauds this initiative. And I think you're right, Marie-Lyse, when you say, well, we must commit the local community to what's happening with Victoire and what's happening in Rwanda, and then we have the credibility to go to the bigger organizations like the UN, the EU, and the AU, because they see people care. If the big organizations don't see that people care what's happening, they are not very willing to act. But if they see people care, if they see people act, they have to do something. They can't stay on the sideline. So I think it's very important that young people, old people, but especially young people, because they are the future, they really should care, that they come together and they begin actions, whatever actions there are. It doesn't matter. Do something, and I'm sure Victoire would really want people to do something, to take action, because that's what she did as well. And she was really a young woman when she started as a president of her party.
Yeah.
And I think we should admire that as well, because she was a young woman in a party full of older men, and finally she got her way, and she told the older and maybe not so wiser men from time to time what she wanted and what she thought was important. And I think people could really learn from the way she did the things she did, and she still does.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much, Anneke. And actually, before we go further, I would like to remind everybody that's following us on air that right now this forum today has been organized by Friends of Victoire, and a movement that has been created a year ago. And this is our first forum on air, but not the last. Okay, today is a big day for us, and we will try to connect with everybody that's really interested in doing something about what this movement is all about. And I'll go back to Claude. Claude, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes. Yeah. I'll ask you also. What do you think? What do you think people, can do? Because we, as Anneke said, Victoire is not the person that will like people just to admire her. But what do you think people, young people especially, can do? To be involved and bring up this movement so change can happen.
I think it's something that is usually called think globally and act locally, right? And that means organize from where you are and push for changes where you are. And your organization, Friends of Victoire, can bring together the local actions that are taking place and put them all together to create a big force. So some of the examples, I'll give some examples just based on what we do here with the African Great Lakes Action Network, is we put U.S. policy. And I think young people and old people, everyone in all countries that you are in, should be putting pressure on the governments of the countries they live in to improve their foreign policy towards Rwanda and the Great Lakes region, and consider the case of Victoire Ingabire, who is she's not the only person that is unjustly in jail in Rwanda. We held an event yesterday with our organization that it was a letter writing event where we had dozens of people come together and write handwritten letters to their members of Congress. And one of the people that attended said, you know, I was looking up Rwanda, and they have the second highest population of people in prison after the United States. And the population of Rwanda is 30 times smaller than the population of the U.S. There are a whole lot more countries in the world and also in Africa that have so many more people, and they don't have as many people in jail. And yes, there are people in jail in Rwanda for crimes that they committed. There are also many people in Rwanda who are unjustly jailed. And Victoire she's the most high profile, she's the most visible, and she is the symbol of the suffering that not only those people who are in jail are going through, but also their families. And you know, you have others like Deo Mushahidi and Bernard Ntaganda, who just got released recently. But the point I'm trying to make here is that from where I am, as an example, I can organize in my community across the United States and other countries that I'm able to reach. And we can push our government to hold the Rwandan government accountable for the treatment of Rwandan people like Victoire and others. And some of that is, for example, the letter writing campaigns, making the phone calls, going to meetings with your members of Congress, and also making sure that the profile of what's happening to Victoire is raised in the media. So reaching out to the media is a very important tool when you're wanting change. You want to make sure that the media knows what's happening and that you are driving the story of what's happening. And the Rwanda government spends so much money on propaganda and PR. But when people hear real stories of real people, either having experienced or observed in injustice, they are moved. They are moved to take action. And so I think that we need to be engaged personally, again, in taking small efforts that don't require us to move from where we are, and engaging the media to raise the profile, because a lot of government officials around the world are very sensitive to what the media says about them. And they don't want to be that one person that's out in the media being called out as the supporter of a government that is oppressing its own people. So I think those are some of the more concrete ways to get people engaged that at least I can suggest. And you know, countries are different, and you know, locations are different, and this may not be applicable to everyone, but I do think that working with your local communities, if you live in England, get some British people behind this movement. Get thousands of people from England, from Ireland, and from whatever country you're in, from Holland, from Canada, from Mexico, from the US, from Brazil, all over the world. Get the local people behind this campaign so that it's really and truly a multiracial, multicultural, and across the globe type of movement. And engage them in small actions. People are happy to help. People are happy to engage, as long as you give them something very specific to do.
Thank you very much, Claude. Thank you. That's really inspiring, and I agree with you. We have to go reach out for the local people. And also, I would like to say, students that's hearing us right now, they should just join the movement, because the public they meet, the young people they meet in universities and secondary schools, they can pass the message and get people to be involved. Because I mean, we've been there, we know that people right now, they can't join your movement if they're not informed. So I'll go back to Liz. Liz, from admiration to active solidarity. I know you have said something about it, but what can you add to that, please?
Yes, there's one important thing that I wanted to add, whereby each person or organization in their local community doing campaigns around the issues of Rwanda or the Great Lakes region, we would welcome them to sign up to join Friends of Victoire. That is on our website, www.friendsofvictoire.org. You can sign up to be a member, and then we will have sections where you can share what you're doing in your local community, because the more actions we share, the better and the stronger our campaign will be, as well as we will also be able to share, or you will be able to find out what other global actions that are being planned within Friends of Victoire. So please join us through our website, become a member, and from there our global voice can be heard by all people, and also we can share and replicate actions or activities or campaigning activities that you are delivering in your own countries, or even adopt them on a global level.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And I'll add that, as you said, you know, we have right now, like right here in Canada, we have started working hard to get people to get involved. I know in Europe you have people following. I know that Claude also in the US, and Anneke and everybody else, they're trying to do their best. And I'll add that we have a problem that people are afraid of being involved, right? Especially in the Rwandan community. And that's why I was saying, not everybody, you know, can write or take a microphone and speak out. But if they join the movement, we can go ahead and also do something about it. Anneke, I'll get back to you. Claude has spoken just a few minutes ago about, and also Liz just spoke about it, about how it's important to have the media on our side in some cases, where they're gonna really relay the message. Because when we see what happening in most of Western media, you know, they know, but they pretend not to know. And you have been in the media for a while, so can you tell us maybe the reason behind that, or what can be done, you know, to help them to put on glasses that can see?
Well, the problem is that Rwanda is not a really sexy subject, and there are also other issues who are always more important than Rwanda. So we really have to find a way to present Victoire in an easy way. We must invent something like Victoire for Dummies or something, because we have to deal with a very complicated situation in a part of the world in which not many people are interested. So we really have to find a way, because we journalists are very lazy. We don't want to work too hard. So if we get something presented in an easy way, I think we will do something with it. But we have to find a way to present Victoire like that, without forgetting the issues. Of course, it mustn't be too superficial or something. She must be real, not a puppet.
Ok, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Et puis je prendrai aussi une occasion pour quand même faire un petit résumé de ce qu'on a parlé, que tout le monde a dit à propos de Victoire, et puis de l'aide que l'on peut apporter. En fait, au début, on a parlé de comment on peut bien sympathiser avec Victoire, ou comment on peut s'intéresser à Victoire. Mais comme la plupart des panélistes l'ont dit, surtout Anneke a insisté là-dessus, en disant que Victoire Ingabire est une personne vraiment qui n'aimerait pas juste voir des gens avoir de la sympathie pour elle, mais plutôt, et elle l'a dit elle-même, il faut que les gens prennent le temps, qu'il ils s'impliquent. Donc c'est ça. Et on peut s'impliquer en étant membre de Friends of Victoire, par exemple, parce que notre mouvement a déjà un site web, friendsofvictoire.org. Vous pouvez aller là-dessus, vous pouvez vous inscrire, et puis vous allez voir, il y a un programme bien précis qui va vous montrer quoi faire. Et puis, je dirais aussi que les responsables de l'organisation, ils sont basés en Europe, mais nous sommes bien en contact de façon que nous pouvons partager des façons par lesquelles on peut travailler. Et en plus, comme Claude l'a dit, il faut que les jeunes aussi, il faut que tout le monde essaie surtout d'intéresser les gens dans leur communauté, là où ils résident. Donc, pour que le mouvement quand même ne soit pas un mouvement monotone, on peut bien associer les gens de toutes les couleurs, de toutes races et puis aussi de toutes nationalités. Et nous pensons très bien que cela va être une bonne idée et cela peut être fait. So, back to you, Lise. Back to you. Back to you. Right now, people are listening to us, and I'm asking myself if probably, I don't know if our technical team can see if there are some people that have some questions for you, and they can let us know.
So, there are no people.
No, if I just wanted to get some people in the audience probably that want to ask questions to you, if they can, you know, if the technical team can tell us if those people wants to ask you questions for now, or if you can just continue. Right now, actually, I have a question. I have a question just sent to me. We have someone living in Togo.
Nice.
Yes, following us. And, you know, his name is Agbe. So, and he's following us, and he's asking us, you know, he's asking you, how can he from that end? So how can he join? And can you respond to him, please?
Yes, it's very simple. They can join through our website, which I did say earlier, www.friendsofvictoire.org. Yes. And as soon as they send us an email, a request to join the movement, then our mobilization team will get in touch and will arrange the best time to speak to the person, because what we're putting on for, it's not just communicating by emails, but our mobilization team put an effort of calling and speaking to individuals interested to join the movement, to find out more why they decided to join, to find out more about what sorts of things are already happening in their country, if they're part of an organization or if they're applying as individuals, all that, so that we know how we can support them and work with them in terms of advancing the actions of our movement. One other thing I wanted to mention, actually, which we're going to tap into throughout this year, is that there is international days of different issues in the world. For example, coming up, there is an International Women's Day coming up on the 8th of March. And I believe that every country in the world has activities scheduled for those for that particular day of International Women's Day. So I call and I urge all people in your own countries to find out what is happening and book yourself in to be able to go and talk about the movement, but most of all, talk about Victoire Ingabire. She's a woman. She's a woman who has put herself forward to challenge autocratic regime. So I think we are best positioned now to be able to raise awareness of what she's done, and as well as campaign for her release through taking part into international days activities across the world.
Okay, thank you. And also I have a new question from Eric that lives in Paris. What he's saying is, yes, he have heard about Friends of Victoire, but he would like to know specifically, like you are based in Europe, but what type of activities, other than, you know, joining and and signing and sending an email. Is there any other activities that Friends of Victoire has been organizing for the cause up to this point?
We are new. We've only been established for a year now, and that's why we're trying to call out individuals. The main activities that we hope people could join in is raising awareness in your own community. What we have on our website is what our mission is, and also who we are campaigning for. So if you get in touch and let us know where you are, which country you are in, then our mobilization team and the campaigning team will work with you, because the campaigns, we will try and be doing global-based campaigns, but we would like campaigns to be tailor-made within the country you work in. For example, if the person is part of an existing organization, then we'll be able to work in partnership with that organization. If the person is an individual, then we'll work with that person to establish Friends of Victoire movement or branch in their particular country. So hopefully we'll be even able to send a representative there to work with them to put together a branch and lead the activities. But because countries are, how do you call it? They are individual. Countries have different approaches around campaigns. So we don't have really a template or a menu of the campaign, but we will work alongside you based on what sort of campaign that, or what sort of interest or the role of the country you are in towards the issues of the Great Lakes region.
Okay, thank you very much, Liz. And actually, to add something to what you said, there is a branch there, actually, where it was created in England. And I can tell people that listening to me here that lives in Canada that we already established one branch here, and we're working hard to, to see how people can join and pitch in. And now I'm going to Anneke before we just close our event today. Anneke, I know that you have been to visit Victoire already. So I would like you to tell the people that, listening to us and watching us today, about that visit. How was it? How did you feel about it? How did she feel about it?
I could only visit her as a friend, not as a journalist.
Yes.
I wasn't allowed to take pictures. I wasn't allowed to make a video or something. The visit was for an hour. We couldn't speak Dutch or we couldn't speak French. We only had to talk in English. Okay. We had 2 guards next to us. But we only could talk about her family and our friends, mutual friends everywhere. We couldn't talk politics. But what I saw was a very strong, beautiful woman. It was amazing. I thought after so many years in prison and not in the very best conditions, because she is really isolated from all the other prisoners. She lives in a small cell outside the main prison buildings, and she's constantly guarded. Her windows are painted black, and I understood from her husband that they were recently painted black again because they were a bit withered. So she is practically all day long she's alone, and that is something which is really very difficult. But she really is incredible courageous, because she looks beautiful. She is beautiful. She's more beautiful even than when she left the Netherlands. Me myself, I really find it amazing. And what she does is she's really committed to her case, to Rwanda. So she works all day trying to convince people, trying to write pamphlets, trying to write visions. She's really she's busy all day, and I was really pleased that I could visit her, because I was convinced I got a no from Rwanda, but it was fairly easy to visit her.
Okay. Okay, that's really good. Actually, we were talking about active involvement and what people can do. As we speak right now, I just remembered something. You know, a few minutes ago at the beginning, we were with Madam Victoire Ingabire from REFDP, and I just wanted to remind you that right now, for those who don't know yet, a journal in Rwanda has specifically set 2 pages publicity for the Victoire Ingabire Prize, and 1 page in Kinyarwanda and the other one in French, which is the first time that happens in Rwanda. So which means right now many people in Rwanda will also know that some people somewhere in Canada, in Europe, in US, they stand beside her, they stand for what she believes in, and they're gonna help her in all the struggle she's going through. And Liz, going forward also, I remember that you had actually spoke about some other things or some other movements that we have to reach out for. And can you help us, for example, understanding? I know you are involved in so many movements, like you know, do things for women around the world. Okay, can you probably speaking directly to women, because we know, you know, women now are powerful, and without them we can't do really something and get ahead. So how can you explain to them, you know, what they can do also, you know, on their own to help this movement?
Yes, I think on the international agenda, for example, recently there is last week there was a 25th summit of the African Union, and it was in Addis Ababa, and
Yes.
that's what they committed for at that summit, is the empowerment of African women up to 2063. So having that agenda being drawn by the AU, I think it's an advantage for us, and this is what I was calling for, that we have been campaigning for the past 20 years around the injustice and impunity and the lack of peace in the great region in our prospective country through the leaders of where we live. But I think it's about time we lift the goal to the international institutions, because they are the ones who set up the agenda of what happens in the world. So now, if the AU has committed itself to advance to empower women for the next up to 2063, that means that there is a series of activities that are going to be drawn, and we should make sure that in our own women-led organization, whether they are Rwandan women organization or international women organization or peace organization, that we reach out to them and put our campaign within that agenda of women empowerment. Because if the world is calling women to join in governance, women to take up leadership, we need to have women who are capable to speak out and challenge things that are not going right within their government. And that's what Victoire stands for. Rwanda has over 67% women in parliament, but only her had the courage to stand up and challenge what were being covered with other women in the Rwandan government. She wasn't even in the government itself. And no more local citizens who see that things are not going right. She joined the political party for her voice to be heard, to challenge what is not going right. And what did she get? She got prison. But we should not give up, because her courage, her determination should be the light that we use in our countries, whether we are Rwandan women or women in other countries where there is oppression and injustice. We should have the strength and courage to stand up, and women across the world should also stand together, so that women leaders that we're going to have are women who are going to put the people first, not the interest of the few. So that's the message I could give all the women who are listening to me, that the time is now for women empowerment, for women into leadership, but we want women leaders who advocates for the people, not for the interest of multinationals or other vested interests from other people who are not really promoters of democracy and unity of the people of the world.
Thank you very much, Liz. And right now, I'm addressing my question to actually Claude. Claude, are you there? Are you there, Claude? Okay, so I just got a question from a gentleman called Neil. He's from Glasgow. And he's saying, you know, the African region and Victoire Ingabire approach as a factor to peace in the Great Region. What can you tell us about that?
One more time, please. I didn't understand the whole question.
The African Great Lakes region.
Yes.
Okay, you know, we need peace there. So would not be the Victoire's approach be, you know, for peace be probably one of the solutions for the problems in the Great Lakes?
I'm having a hard time understanding, but is the question asking if Victoire's approach can bring about peace, or?
Yes, that's the way I understand it too.
Yes, I think so, because you know, all the formulas that have been tried in the region have failed. We have dictators that are running countries like it's their own personal property.
Yeah.
And this goes way back to even colonialism. You look at the Congo, where it was personal property for King Leopold II, and Mobutu ran it like it was his own personal property. And today we have the RPF in Rwanda running the country as their own personal property and their own personal business, and trying to annex Eastern Congo and make it a territory or a supplier to the to the country of Rwanda. But I think that Victoire's approach, which, number one, it promotes peaceful resolution to conflicts, is a very refreshing approach, because when you look at how we've historically tried to resolve issues in Rwanda with war and genocide and massacres and all kinds of horrible things, it's not worked. If you look at trying to resolve any of the conflicts or any of the atrocities in the Congo using military solutions, it has not worked. And I think cooperation is what is going to resolve the issue in the region. I think that Victoire's approach, as we want reconciliation inside of Rwanda, will also lead to reconciliation with our neighbors, especially in the Congo, where Rwanda has been shown on multiple reports. The UN experts reports 2001, 2002, 2003, 2008, the mapping report of 2010, and the UN expert report of 2012 and 2013 all showed that the Rwanda government has committed horrible atrocities in the Congo. And it is logical to expect Congolese people to be hostile towards Rwandans, because they cannot tell salt from sugar. You can't tell from one Rwandan to another who is the one that's pursuing you to kill you versus the one who is not. And I think that Victoire's approach of, we want to be open, we want justice, we want reconciliation, is going to serve everyone in the region, and the people can gain confidence in that the leadership in the region is actually pursuing peace versus war, versus greedy leadership that is pursuing profits over the people. So I do think that it definitely is a better approach than what we've had before. And part of the reason why she's suffering the consequences of her actions, which I think her actions are right, is because she's challenging a historical behavior and entitlement by the leaders to say we don't serve the people, these people serve us, and that's not how it's supposed to be. The leaders they're supposed to serve the people, not the other way around. And so I think her approach is right.
Okay, thank you very much, Claude. And right now we are joined with another panelist that we're waiting for. Okay, so Anne Garrison. Hello, Anne.
Hi, I'm right here, and I'm trying to, excuse me, I'm disheveled, and I'm sorry I'm a little late. I must have figured out the GMT wrong.
Okay, no problem. So I'll just go ahead and tell our, our listeners who you are. So Anne Garrison is a researcher, and she's a writer, and she does also advocacy at KPFA and WBAI, and independent press reporter. Anne Garrison writes and produces radio about peace and social justice issues, with recent focus on war and resources extraction on the African continent. Her work appears in Global Research, the Black Star News, the San Francisco Bay View, the Bazooka News, and other publications. And actually, I have a specific question for you. You have been fighting for justice for a long time, and the question I have for you right now is, in your recent interview you have done with the chair of Friends of Victoire, you mentioned that you would rather describe Madam Victoire Ingabire as Martin Luther King rather than Mandela or Lumumba. Why?
Because I think that, excuse me, first I'm going to go ahead and start answering, but I'm also going to be trying to plug my professional microphone in here, because one thing I was thinking about yesterday was that I might be able to share the audio record of this conversation on Women's Magazine, and so I want to get the audio. I want to make the audio as good as I can. So,
no problem.
But I can answer the question. I gave that some thought last night. Because Victoire, I feel that I got to know her well enough during the year that we had the opportunity to speak on the phone for KPFA and WBAI radio, when she was under house arrest and she was not supposed to speak to the press, but she was. That was one part of the order she was not going to agree to, even though the press in Rwanda were mostly afraid to speak to her because they knew they would be arrested. I feel I got to know her well enough to understand that she's absolutely committed to nonviolence.
Yeah.
And both of those other figures, Mandela and Lumumba, at some point in their lives felt like they had no choice but to resort to violence. And I am certainly not the one to judge the decisions of those monumental African leaders. I just know that Victoire is different in that I think she is as committed to nonviolent action as Dr. Martin Luther King was.
Okay.
That's quite a significant distinction.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. It's clear enough. And going forward also, I remember that people that know you know as well that you have received last year the Victoire Ingabire Umuhoza Prize for Peace and Democracy. What does that mean to you? Did it change something in the way you do the advocacy for justice for Victoire Ingabire? We can't see you.
Oh, she's muted.
Yeah, I was asking you. I was saying that last year you have received the prize of Victoire Ingabire Umuhoza, the prize for peace and democracy. What does that mean to you? Did it change anything in the way you advocate for her? Your microphone is off. Okay, we're gonna move ahead and let her we're gonna let Anne figure out how he's going to fix the technicality of her computer. So, hello, Anne. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. I'm not sure that you can hear me.
Okay, yeah, now I hear you. Now I hear you. So, did you understand my question?
Yes, yes, absolutely. Well, it was the greatest honor I'll ever receive in my life, the greatest honor I can imagine ever receiving, because I understand how enormous Victoire's struggle is, even if a lot of other people don't understand it yet, because I feel that I do. It was as great as an honor as I can ever receive. I don't think it changed my advocacy, except insofar as I've met all kinds of wonderful people associated with that award, and people who've received it, like Luc Marshall, and I'd say also here in the U.S. and in my local community here, it did more to convince people that I've actually reached out and connected with the communities and the situations I've tried to report on, even from a great distance. And I think that gave my credibility, that increased my credibility here, and I appreciated that greatly.
Okay, thank you. Actually, as you were speaking, I just received a question for you, Anne. And the question is from, you can't believe that, but the person says he's in Ibutare, Rwanda. His name is Karake.
Uh-huh.
And he asked you a question, you know, how can they use social media, for example? Because from what we've been saying was that people can join the Friends of Victoire movement, you know, going ahead. And he's asking, you know, how can they use social media over there in an effective way to reach out, particularly to young Rwandans who are trapped by the Rwandan propaganda that everything in the country is all right, in terms of changing that perception, engaging in debates, and start having an active role. So how can they do that?
Well, my first thought with regard to use of social media in Rwanda is, how far is the government going to go to restrict it?
Yeah.
The Democratic Republic of the Congo shut down all social media last week when students and a lot of other people were in the streets protesting President Joseph Kabila's legislative ploys to be able to stay in power. And I would expect Rwanda to be quite prepared to take similar moves. So that's my first thought. But at the same time, I can say people in Rwanda and throughout the region have found me and contacted me on social media.
Okay.
And they've found my website.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there are various ways to create a network on Twitter and Facebook, and you know, there's the news, social media like
What's up?
Instagram. Oh, WhatsApp. Someone from your region asked me to install WhatsApp, but we haven't managed to use it yet. Instagram is becoming popular. There's another one that I'm very interested in coming, hopefully soon, called ELO, and I'm interested in that because it is commercial free. It will have no advertising, and it's also a non-profit social network that is committed to protecting everyone's privacy. And you know, that's getting off the ground. It's based in Vermont, and it's not there yet. It's being beta tested, but you know, it's possible that something like that could become more popular than the commercial networks, in the same way that the Wikipedia has become more popular than any other encyclopedia. In regard to the social networks, also, this isn't just within Rwanda, but with regard to use of the social networks globally, if people see reporting, I'm very conscious of this as a reporter, if people see reporting that they like about Victoire, Victoria's issues, the region, and make a point of sharing them on social networks, on email lists, or these things like Yahoo, Rise Up lists. There are probably some equivalents there. The more that they're shared and the more traffic that they generate, the more visible they become in Google search. So then if someone goes in and types into Google search Victoire Ingabire or Rwanda or some related subject, they're more likely to see the articles that have been getting the most traffic. And Google search also, I don't mean to be doing an advertisement for Google here, but I have to admit that so far it's my favorite web browser, because however Google intended it, Google creates a kind of media democracy. Well, both the combination of Google and the state of media today, in that most big newspapers around the world are publishing the same story every day. They're all publishing the story that they get from Reuters or AP or AFP, maybe BBC. And so when they see unique content, instead of displaying the same story over and over again, they're going to display a unique story, and they're going to do so especially if it's getting traffic.
Yes. Okay, thank you very much, Anne. And before we get to our closing comments, I would like to say that as we were, doing this, we got also a new person that interested in joining Friends of Victoire, and his name is, he's from North Carolina, and his name is Innocent. I'd like to tell him that we'll get back to him, and we thank him for his interest in Friends of Victoire Ingabire. So right now, thank you all for joining in. I thank you, Claude. I thank you, Anne. I thank you, Lise. I thank also Anneke and Perpetu Muramutse. Both of them had to leave us because they had some other appointments. So what are we gonna do now? I'll ask you to go to say your last statement before we finish our program. I'll start by you, Claude, please.
Thank you for having me on this conference today. I think this is historical. I think it's important. I think building a movement around Victoire, a global movement to represent the struggles of the Rwandan people, but also the people in the region, is important. And I think if it's built with leveraging the experiences of those who built movements previously, the Free Mandela movement, the Free Aung San Suu Kyi, the ongoing Free Bertukan Madetsa, and other movements around these historical figures, these unique historical figures like Victoire. I think there is a lot of this can lead to a major change, and I've already said just the simple return of Victoire to Rwanda has led to so many things. She has brought down the RPF crumbling, if you will, and the Rwandan government. The myth of having the majority of women in parliament, when the only woman who's challenged that government has been subjected to so much suffering in her family, and then the myth that this was a country that is progressed so well and is tolerant and there's reconciliation. The actions of the government of Rwanda have shown that Rwanda is far from that. It's a very intolerant country, and it all happened because she dared to return. So I think everyone should join and take a leaf out of her courageous acts and contribute. Again, as I said earlier, contribute locally, and let's bring this all together globally. And your organization can do that as long as you have people that are acting from where they are and pushing for change in ways that don't require them to do extraordinary things. So as Anneke said it probably better than I did, is this needs to be simplified, and there needs to be something that's very simple about Victoire that tells this is who she is, this is what she stands for, this is what's happening to her, and this is what you can do for her, and you know this is how it benefits you and the rest of the world. I just encourage you to keep the movement going. At our event yesterday, there were people who have been researching Rwanda and the Great Lakes region. Our focus was on Congo, but there were people who were interested in taking action on Rwanda, and there are actually people who expressed interest. So I'm going to direct them to the website and have them contact you to contribute to future action by the group Friends of Victoire. Thank you so much for having me today.
Thank you for saying yes to our invitation, Claude. And Anne, that's your turn now.
Okay. Again, I'm so sorry I'm late. I read all the questions and had this all figured out. But anyway, even though I was late, I think it's a great idea, and I would suggest doing this maybe once a month and having different people on the webcast and creating more time for call-ins. As someone who produces radio, I'm always feeling that there should be more call-in and write-in time on the radio. More time where we, the panelists, just listen and talk to people who want to connect. I'm going to present something at a Unitarian church in Berkeley, and I will suggest that people always ask me, well, what can I do about this? Yes. Forming a Friends of Victoire group and agreeing to receive, just first of all, to receive mail and inform yourself is a start. And then I would suggest, and I actually made a few steps towards making connections with two of the global movements that have most been able to connect with a global audience now. And that is first Black Lives Matter, for obvious reasons, and the second is the Palestinian Rights Organization.